Namaste and hello, this is your Sanskrit instructor welcoming you back into lesson number 55, where we will be learning how to use the instrumental case and how to identify them how to identify the meaning of a sentence when we see a sentence with a noun that is declined in the instrumental case. The instrumental case is used in several ways, and we'll be going over that in this video along with some examples. So number one is to indicate the agent of a passive verb. The instrumental case is also used to indicate the instrument which is used to do the action. Number three is to indicate the person or thing accompanying the action. The instrumental case could also be used to indicate the cause or reason, or to translate expressions such as owing to, on the account of, or because of, or out of. To translate expressions like by name, by nature, by family, by birth. And it could also be used with prepositions and some particles that govern the instrumental case. So we'll go over examples for all of them except for this one, which is the passive voice. You must be wondering what that is. A passive voice is basically when the object of a sentence appears to be the subject of a sentence in the passive voice. So again, we will touch on this later, but quickly, an example of an active sentence would be, which we have been doing, is the servant killed the king. And an example of a passive sentence would be that the king was killed by the servant. So here the king was the object in the active voice, but then it appeared to be the subject in the passive voice. So that is what we're actually looking at here for passive, but we're not going to be touching upon that. In Sanskrit, we do have passive verbs, and there's a technique how to use them, so we'll go over that later. And now moving on to indicate the instrument which is used to do the action. So the boy hides his face. What is the instrument that he's using? The boy hides his face with his hands. So his hands is the instrument of this sentence. That's why it's called the instrumental case, with his hands. And the Sanskrit sentence for that is Balo Murkha Hastabhyam Guhati. Balo is boy. It was originally Baalaha, but because the visarg was preceded by an and followed by a soft consonant, it became Balo. Then we have Murkha is face. Hastabhyam is with his hands. Hastabhyam is instrumental, dual. And Guhati is to hide. So the boy hides his face with his hands. Why is it declined in the dual form? Because the boy has two hands. So technically, if you want to get very technical with the translation, it's actually with his two hands. The boy is hiding his face. And moving on to the third reason. So the instrumental case is used to indicate the person or thing accompanying the action. So I go with the servant. Dasena gachami is the example sentence. Dasena gachami, gachami is I go. Dasena is instrumental. Dasena is instrumental singular. And that is with the servant. So dasena is with the servant. I go with the servant. So again, the servant is the instrument here because you're going with something. So the servant is your instrument in this case. So in this sense, the instrumental case may also be followed by the preposition saha. So we went over in the last sentence, dasena gachami is I go with the servant. Saha is a preposition governing the instrumental case. So just like how we had prepositions governing the accusative case, you also have prepositions governing the instrumental case. So, for example, an example of a preposition governing the accusative was paritaha. So, if I wanted to say around the king, I would say nripam paritaha, and I would make sure that nripaha is in the accusative case, and it turns into nripam because of paritaha calls for that. Saha is going to call for the use of that noun to be declined in the instrumental case. So even though dasena gachami means I go with the servant, even though the meaning is in the sentence itself without saha, you could put in saha to make it a little bit more fancy. And just remember, when you're using saha, make sure that what you're talking about, if it's with the servant, make sure that that is in the instrumental case. Moving on to the fourth reason, to indicate the cause or reason, to translate expressions such as owing to, on the account of, out of, because of, etc. So, it's giving reasoning to something. I am doing this because of this. The because part is going to be in the instrumental case. So the example sentence here is, on the account of misery, I leave the village. So, I leave Tiajami Gramam, Duhkena Gramam Tiajami. On the account of misery, Duhkam becomes Duhkena, instrumental singular. Because of misery, I am leaving the village. I leave the village because I am sad, on the account of misery. Gramam is village. That is an accusative case because it's the object of the sentence, and tiajami, first person, I leave. Okay. Number 5, the instrumental case is used to translate expressions like by name, by nature, by family, by birth, etc. Rama is a hero by nature is the example sentence. We already translated Rama is a hero several times, and it would just be Ramo Viro Bhavati. And notice that it was Ramaha Viraha Bhavati, but because of Sandhi rules, they changed to Ramo Viro. And if you want to say by nature, by name, by family, Swabhava is nature. It got declined to instrumental singular because we're saying that by nature Ram is a hero. So it's swabhavena Ramo Viro Bhavati. And then also, so it's used for prepositions, like the instrumental case is used with the prepositions saha and vina, which is without. We already went over saha. We already went over this sentence. The example sentence that we used just now was Dasena saha gachami. Dasena saha gachami. I go with the servant. So that governs the accusative. Now, vina, we already went over this. This is also a preposition that governs the accusative case. So if I wanted to say without the servant, I could say vina dasam, or I could say vina dasena. The meaning wouldn't change. As long as you have your noun agree either with the accusative case or the instrumental case, it should be just fine. And last but not least, the instrumental case is used with particles alam and kritam. Both of these words mean enough. And the example sentence is enough with misery. So enough with misery. Alam, that's going to govern the instrumental case. So misery has to be declined in the instrumental case. So this is instrumental singular. Dohukena. So now that we went over all of the ways that the instrumental case could be used, let's not forget what the case endings are that we learned so far in the masculine and neuter nouns ending in a. For both singular, dual, and plural, your case endings are ena, abhyam, and aiha. Those would be added to your masculine and neuter nouns ending with a. So I hope that all of these steps were clear. And this is your Sanskrit instructor signing off with a namaste.